As the floors can take no more, stuck in this groove, I'm feeling bored. Ready, steady, go.
Woo! Oh my goodness, everybody. Wow, that was exciting. Ugh, I need to collect myself. I need to get an energy drink in me. I need to have a nicotine pouch. I need to smoke. That's what I really need. And I don't smoke, ladies and gentlemen. But that was something. That was stressful. That was exciting. That was everything you wanted from a hockey game. Thank you guys for joining me. We're live on SLC Puck platforms. It's a late night, and we're doing it right. We're celebrating a big win for the Utah Mammoth over the Vegas Golden Knights in Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Playoffs first round action. Live from the City of Sin. That's where you might be. That's where the game was. But I'm live from the basement here in the Salt Lake Valley. We're going to break down the game, talk about some things. You guys are more than welcome to hop in the chat. We already got the chat buzzing. Let's get it buzzing a bit more, everybody. We got our good friends Brian Enrique. Let's go, says Enrique. Amazing team effort. Can't wait for Friday. I completely agree with you, Enrique. I'm very excited as well. What a frickin' night for the Utah Mammoth. Their first ever victory in postseason action. A very intense, interesting game. A game that I was really worried about at one point in the first period. But I think as the game went on, Utah got more comfortable. They overcame adversity. They found a real rhythm in their penalty kill, which was crucial. And when they had the opportunity to play their game, which is speed, they did so in a big way. And I think that paid off for the Utah Mammoth in securing a 3-2 regulation victory. Oh, my heart is pounding out of my chest. I am also watching post-game with Hockey Night in Utah. Kim and Nick are on the screen. If they jump to a post-game interview, we'll try to pipe in that sound for you as well, guys. Wow, what a frickin' game. Utah goes down early in this one. This is where I was very nervous at the beginning. Utah not getting a lot of great chances. I'll tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to put up Puckovision right here. This is the final money puck breakdown, the scoring chances. I'll tell you this, as I was watching this as the game was going on, this is not at all what the scoring chances chart looked like after the first period. There was one measly little dot for Utah in front of the net. Vegas had quite a few after the first, and that was, I think, sort of to be expected. You know, I there were a lot of comments after game one. Vegas doled out 51 hits on the Utah Mammoth, which would have surpassed every other total they hit during the regular season. So it was a very, very physical game, a taxing one. Nick Dowd suggested he was going to kill Logan Cooley, you know, all that good stuff, right? All the fun of first game of a playoff series. I did get the feeling early on in this game that Utah did come into this one a little bruised and battered, perhaps a little gun shy. I'm sure that they weren't looking forward to, you know, being on the receiving end of 50-plus hits in this one. We'll check the final box score in a second to see what the total ended up being. But obviously, I mean, there were obvious physical ramifications from game one. I think that's apparent in the fact that our friend Jack McBain, SLC Pucker of the Year, was removed from the lineup. He was not with the team all day. He didn't take morning skate. He obviously wasn't in the lineup either. So, he was on the ice for game one, doing Boehner things. He was, dishing out hits as well, receiving a lot. Took some extracurricular activities in front of the net early on in game one. We don't know a lot about any possible injuries on Boehner's part. Andre Tourigny's not going to reveal that. He joked when speaking to Cole Bagley today that he wasn't going to say that in an interview setting. He was going to tweet it. And I checked Andre Tourigny's Twitter. I didn't see anything on there. In fact, I didn't even see a Twitter from Andre Tourigny. But regardless, without Boehner, the Utah Mammoth rolled out a checking line, a fourth line that included Kevin Stenlund, Liam O'Brien, and Brandon Tanev. They held in there. They did well. We'll check the box score to see, who was on the ice for Vegas's goals, so we know who to blame. Kidding. Vegas, obviously a very high potent offensive team. They scored on their first power play attempt, and that's what I'm talking about when I say I was nervous early on. I was like, oh gosh, their first power play attempt, they already put one in the back of the net. They made it look pretty easily. Mark Stone received a pass right on the back door. Who did he dish that? Who did he get that from? From Jack Eichel. Mitch Marner involved on the secondary assist as well. So, hey, that's all the things you're afraid of, right, when you're facing that power play group. Just, again, looking at the box score, though, no Jack McBain in the lineup. Liam O'Brien inserted into that group. I believe this may have been one of O'Brien's first appearances in the postseason. We can check that right now, of course. I thought that was that's what they had to do. Obviously, I think there's no question who we would prefer in the lineup should Jack McBain be available. No, it looks like Liam O'Brien has not played in an NHL postseason game before. So I'm looking at his hockey database card. Yep, this was postseason appearance number 1 for O'Brien. Did his thing, right? Did tuna things. We didn't expect him to be a goal scorer in this one, but he was dishing out the body. In this one, he had, looks like a team high 5 hits. That's a guy who's excited to play in his first playoff game, doing what he needs to do. In total for the game, and I think this just was an interesting part of the storyline. Utah out-hit Vegas in this one, actually 39-33. Hits, though, I think that's kind of an interesting, misleading stat sometimes, because you hit a team when you don't have the puck. So, there's give and takes to looking too closely at that one, right? But we can see here, like, a lot of things that tell the tape. Utah outshot Vegas 29-21. Face-offs dead even 30-30. That had big ramifications. The Utah lost one at the end of the game that could have been critical, right in their defensive zone. I believe it was Nick Sissons who took the face-off from Kevin Stenlund and gave Vegas a couple of really good opportunities at the net. 6-on-5, goalie pulled. Ultimately, though, they made some fantastic plays to keep the puck out of the net. Mikhail Sergachev pushing guys in front of the net, something he doesn't typically do. Something I've really literally never seen him do. I think clearing the front of the net out there at the end of the game was crucial. And then Kevin Stenlund makes a play. Sort of, I guess, it's a kind of call where the referees are going to swallow their whistle on this one. Basically, knocks Jack Eichel to the ground. He's standing there on the back door. He's in a very dangerous position. That very well could have been a game-saving play for Utah. They end up, getting the clear at the end. Nick Schmaltz was all over the ice. He missed a couple of clears, but ultimately got it when it counted. Utah held on for a 3-2 win, their first ever win in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Just more stats. The total penalties in this one, dead even as well, 7 apiece for both teams. Vegas, of course, cashed in 1-4 on the power play opportunities. Utah went 0-4 on power play opportunities on their part. Block shots favored Utah 17-15. Utah had one more takeaway than Vegas, 6-5, but also surrendered the puck twice more, two times more than Vegas. However you say it, 17 to 15 giveaways, not in Utah's favor for that one. But that was a frickin' unreal game. It was a very different game than game one for sure. I think like obviously the biggest difference being the amount of penalties that were called, just one apiece for both teams in game one, 7 each in this one. And you can see the game flow, how that really affected the team. And it's just interesting to note here. And I think anybody who watched the game could tell this as well. And I get, now that I'm saying it out loud, it makes sense. The more the referees got involved in the game, and there were egregious calls that needed to be made, perhaps some that wouldn't have been called in game one, but the more the referees stayed out of the game, the more that favored Utah. And I think the obvious reason for that is because it kept Vegas's power play off the ice towards the end of the game. We can see here there were no power plays called in Vegas's favor in the third period. Utah did have the fortune of getting a penalty called at about the about the 5-minute mark, 6-minute mark of the third period. Rasmus Andersson got a delay of game for puck over the glass. Utah did not capitalize on that, but again, that's just more time that Utah keeps Vegas's 5-on-5 group and power play group off the ice. They're forced to play shorthanded for 2 crucial minutes in that third period, becoming less of a scoring threat is Vegas that is. And then at the end, just the kind of goal that Utah I thought would need to get at some point in this game. This is going to be where they're favored in this one, just on their speed. They get a quick breakout out of their own zone, make a very slick play from Kyler Yamamoto behind his back to Dylan Guenther, blazes through the blue line into the zone, and Logan Cooley cashes in. What was that? That was off of a rebound by a shot by Dylan Guenther. So again, that was a speed play. That was a vertical quick strike play. The kind of goals Utah is going to need in this series if they want to prevail. Utah also scored off of a lucky bounce, for sure. That was in the first period. Goal score was credited to Mackenzie Weegar, bounced off of Rasmus Andersson's skate, I believe it was, just flung towards the net. But again, I think the tale of the tape is just really how much the officiating impacted the game. And I think you got to give Utah's penalty kill a lot of credit for how they clinched up and tightened things up down in the second half of this game. Utah took the lead very briefly in the second period. A goal by Dylan Guenther, one-timer, his first ever goal in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Vegas responded less than a minute later on a backhander by Ivan Barbashev, assist by Jack Eichel. That was his second assist of the game. And then they played, an extended period of time scoreless. Again, that penalty right there in the middle of scoreless play certainly helped Utah stay afloat until they could get the goal that they need to score to win this series. So I'm freaking excited. Again, I said it coming into the series that the two guys who were going to have to really carry the water for Utah, they were going to have to grow up. This was going to be a very important series for them. Logan Cooley, Dylan Guenther. I'm a freaking genius. These guys scored the Utah's game tying and then game winning goals. Or actually the go-ahead goal, which was then tied by Vegas right there in the second period, and then the game winner by Logan Cooley with about 6 minutes to go. Frickin' awesome. I think you got to give some credit to Veggie for not letting any softies in on this one. All of Vegas's goals both of Vegas's goals were hard-earned skill goals. Veggie stood tall. Nothing soft, no miscues to speak of in this one. But Utah's young guns showed up in a big way, especially the guys who have been very strong this season. Nick Schmaltz with nearly 1 expected goal in this one. Dylan Guenther with half an expected goal. Alec Kerfoot and Cooley both drove a lot of action towards the net, as did Lawson Krause. Clayton Keller yet to really show up in a big way this series. If we know anything about him, there's a regression to the mean here. It just means that he's going to bounce back in a big way when the series returns to Salt Lake City. That's what that tells me. So Utah gets the 3-2 victory on a very exciting night. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to this action here, this coverage here on SLC Puck live on all platforms. Let's just jump in the chat here. We got a lot of people in here. We so appreciate that. Tell your friends, tell your family. I'm happy to be chatting with you guys as long as you would like, really. We got a question here from Mr. J. Scotty Rice, 55. Did the Keller line look better tonight? I was at work and didn't get to watch the game. I hope we're not spoiling it for you, Mr. J. Scotty Rice. This was a very exciting one. Let's see what the numbers have to say about that. We'll just look at the line play here. I think, it shows up in the metrics, right? On ice, expected goals for, expected goals against. I would say they were better than last game. The Krause, Schmaltz, and Keller line. They were very not good in game one. And here, just to give you a frame of reference, the improvement actually is quite significant. Looking at the numbers here, let's just go back to game one to recall this. So again, the on ice goals for percentage I think is very indicative when it comes to metrics, right? I think we anecdotally they did not look like they were faring very well in game one. We can see here the expected goals percentage for that first line of Schmaltz, Keller, and Krause was just 7.5. So that means when they were on the ice, they weren't driving. They were only driving the puck towards the net 7.5% of the time. Maybe giving up opportunities. I may be extrapolating the math here. What is that? 92.5% of the time. I think Vegas's fourth line of Nick Sissons, Nick Dowd, and one other guy. Was it Barbashev? Might have been Barbashev. Really dominated that first line for Utah in game one. But fast forward to game two, big time improvement for that line. Let's move ahead here. Let's just check the same metric here, and you'll see the difference. So again, remember their expected goals percentage just 7.5%. Let's scroll down here. Let's see what it was in game two. I can just already tell looking at the start of this chart, a lot better. Expected goals percentage, 61 point. Excuse me, no, I was looking at the wrong line. 61.6. So they were almost 10 times as effective in game, probably 9 times. I'm not good at math. You guys know that. Far more effective, dominated the majority of the play on the ice, 61.6% of the time driving the expected goals percentage. Not getting all the shots that they needed or wanted. I think what I saw was a lot of their shots get blocked. And let me just see here. On ice shot attempts for, just 3 shot attempts for that line, 7 shots against. But again, they weren't super high danger. I'm just looking here. On ice shots on goal for. Yeah, see, they were blocking shots when they were on the ice. I saw a lot of Krause, Schmaltz, and Keller both being very active, and all 3 of them being very active in the defensive zone. Unblocked shots again, shots on goal against, and 4 tied up at 2 each. So even Corsi percentage numbers for that line. Yeah, Fenwick better as well. Hey, we have Sammy here. Hi, how are you, Sam? Sammy is asking me to unscrew the lid on her tumbler mug. Sam, I have people are. What did you do to this? Oh my God. Oh, this is Sam. I'm so mad at you. This is so embarrassing. People are tuning in. Oh God. Sam, I have 82 people watching me right now. Just yes. Persistence, folks. I got it. Sam, would you like to say hi to the folks? You can say thank you into the microphone.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you. Austin. Sorry. I'm gonna go.
Would you get out of here?
I'm gonna go now.
She calls me her embarrassing nickname for me in front of oh my gosh, this could not have been worse. Anyway, to answer your question, J. Scotty J. Rice, J. Scotty Rice. Yes, they were much better. I think that was that met the eye test as well. I'm probably not breaking down the statistics as well as I should be, but I think when you just look at that expected goals percentage number, it really tells the tale. You know, they were much better in game 2 as opposed to game 1. That top line though, those young guns, those guys that I said needed to show up, they were otherworldly once again. They were magical. Obviously, they scored 2 of the biggest goals in this game. The goal to go ahead in the second, and then the goal to take the lead again in the third, which would end up being the game winner. When we look at the expected goals percentage for the Cooley, Yamamoto, Gunther line, expected goals percentage lands at 95.6. They were on ice, shots on goal 4, 3. 2 of them went in net. Just 1 shot on goal against them. They had 8 shots, and here this is even more kind of a indicator of how well they were dominating play compared to who they were matched up against. On ice shots attempts 4, 8, right? So 6 of those were unblocked. 3 of those were on net. 2 of those ended up scoring. In terms of shots against their line and unblocked, blocked, whatever, just 1 against that line. So they were dominant on all 200 feet. Carcone, Kerfoot, and Peterka, I thought, played good. They had a lot of hard minutes in this one, but still dominated the expected goals percentage considerably as well. I would say, you know, the only weak point in this one, you look here at the Mammoth line stats, 5-on-5 play, expected goals percentage. See those top 3 lines. They really dominated play, all 3 of them. The Cooley line, the Kerfoot line, and the Schmaltz line, all with expected goals percentage that favored them over 50%. The Stenlin O'Brien line, unsurprisingly, they were chasing the majority of the time. Expected goals percentage much, much lower, the 7.7%, which was interestingly where the Schmaltz line was in game 1. So they were they kind of traded places in that one. But you know, again, that line's job is not to score plays; it's really to weather the storm, to inflict damage physically, and give the other guys a little bit of a rest while they do their thing on the ice. And that they played their role perfectly in this one. Stenlin, like I said, had some huge plays to save the game for Utah. O'Brien was out there dishing out the way he does, and Tanev was a high energy player, as he always is as well. Let's get back into the comments here. Schmaltzy will have a huge game. Small Tusk energy there for a moment. Hold on. What are you trying to say, Snar Wars channel? What's Small Tusk energy? What's going on here? Hi. Yeah, Brian said hi to Sam. I'm sure she meant to say hi back. Gunther, to answer your question, Brian, I think Gunther has been pretty good. I think there's just a couple little things he needs to tighten up. I think he's playing at a pace that he's not entirely comfortable with yet. And I think that's kind of resulting in some missed opportunities. See the puck bouncing off his stick from time to time. But when he's in like his more natural rhythm, right? Obviously, he scored a goal in his office, right? One-timer from the face-off dot, right where it's meant to be. He's quite good. I think he was really, really good tonight. But again, I think the flow of the game is having a big impact on or maybe not a big impact, but certainly a noticeable impact on Dylan Gunther's effectiveness. I'm excited to see him play in Salt Lake City. I think he's a little bit better at home. I say that just totally top of my head, anecdotally, having watched, all 82 games from both seasons. I think he's a guy who really embraces the spotlight here in Utah. Obviously, he has scored the first goals in franchise history, both for the Utah Hockey Club and the Utah Mammoth. I think he's got that clutch gene in a big way. That's funny, Snar Wars. Yeah. Hey, Snar Wars, it was Small Tuck Energy. That thing was clinched on so tight, though. It was so vacuum sealed. You wouldn't have even believed it. So to to overcome that and get the opening the mid and to overcome that and open the mug the way I did, that was the definition of Big Tusk energy: resiliency, determination, and a never quit attitude. That's what I showcased there, and that's what I want credit for. That's what I should be remembered for. But I think Gunther's been good. I think it certainly has helped him to play with the guy who's been the best player on the ice both games, Logan Cooley. It is absolutely mind-blowing to watch Logan Cooley out there. This does not look like his first rodeo. And to me, it's like, this is why he's getting paid $80 million over the next 10 years. Like, it makes me so excited to think about $80 million over the next 8 years, 8-year deal, $10 million each, $10 million AAV. The growth that we're going to see from Cooley and Gunther is going to be marvelous. This is playoff series 1. This is game 2. And these guys are already playing like veterans and owning the game against, by the way, the team they drew in the first round doesn't suck. They don't suck one bit. They won the Pacific Division. They're hot as hell. They probably were the hottest team in hockey coming into the series. Goaltending was tremendous and still has been very good through 2 games. Carter Hart was fantastic in game 1, pretty good here in game 2. But what these guys are doing is a marvel. It's incredible. And what it's going to do for their trajectory as future NHLers and leaders of this team, it kind of gives me like butterflies to think about it. I wrote an article way back in November. I said, build the statues now. Like Logan Cooley, Dylan Gunther, we're going to look at and feel the same way we do towards them as we do for John Stockton and Karl Malone. They're going to have statues in front of the Delta Center the same way that John Stockton and Karl Malone are. It's just, you know that these are the dudes. You know that these are the chosen ones. And they complement each other so well. It does feel the same way that John Stockton and Karl Malone complemented each other's playing style perfectly. It's the same way, right? It's not like one. It's a little bit different in the sense that like it's not like a big bruising Malone who drives the net. Maybe that's the Logan Cooley rule. Maybe not. I don't know. It doesn't translate perfectly, right? But what I'm saying is it's a terrifying tandem. And they're getting this experience now, by the way, when guys like Macklin Celebrini and Will Smith are chilling at home, going to frat parties in Boston, getting drunk, scoring with chicks. Nothing wrong with that. Hey, do your thing. They are guys like, of that age. They're frat bros who want to have the chance to play that out. Frank Nazar, Connor Bedard may be experiencing the same thing, right? The Chicago Blackhawks are also on the outside looking in, watching the playoffs. Meanwhile, our young guys, our budding superstars, Dylan Gunther, Logan Cooley, are getting this experience that both of those other tandems couldn't even fathom. Like they don't even know how intense it is out there. They don't even know the level of competition. The temperature has risen so much in both of the last 2 games. It doesn't feel like anything we've seen in the regular season over the last 2 years. And that's what makes me really excited for Friday, game 3 in Salt Lake City. I have tickets. I'm thrilled out of my mind. I still have, yep, that's right. No one. Yeah. I brought up Bedard. Come on now. We still have these big cup energy hats. We still got a few available on the shop. And I'll make sure that you guys have those ahead of game 3 at the Delta Center. So, make sure you just note that the promo code. We can do local pickup or game day pickup if you prefer. But we will get those hats to everybody who wants them ahead of action on Friday. So I really like where Utah's at, what happened in game 2. I think the formula is simple, right? Attack with speed, get a goal that way, right? Get going vertical, get the young guys, blazing up there, Cooley, Gunther, have some strong looks at the net, play tough in the defensive zone. Lean on your veterans, your strong defensive forwards. I think you can put Clayton Keller in that group. Nick Schmaltz is certainly the leader of that group. I think you could say Lawson Krause as well. You kind of have your second line, your third line, I guess you could say, that kind of fits in between there. Kerfoot, Peterka, Carcone. I think this is all locked in. This is very much in place. If you get Jack McBain back healthy, it's gravy on top. If he can be effective, that is, I think, ultimately inserting him into the lineup in favor of a guy like Brandon Tanev, I think that would be beneficial to getting Utah more chances towards net, particularly in that fourth line. They can't always be dominated offensively the way they have been. So that's something to definitely be aware of for sure. They can't eat, 20 hard minutes a night, 15 hard minutes, whatever the math ends up being. They do need to get a little bit towards the net. They can't play with their backs towards the goal the entire time. I guess you would have to be one way or the other, but right next to their own net the entire game. So hopefully we'll see more of Jack McBain, but I don't know if you can count on it at this point. I think he's probably has a lingering injury that was really bothering him towards the end of the season. So just let's run through some more stats, like who else played well in this one. Sergachev, Uyghur, huge bounce back game for them. No goals against them when they were on the ice. The Schmidt-Marino line pairing didn't drive nearly as much towards the net, I thought, but they were effective still in their own zone. They took a lot of the hard minutes in this one. They also suffered no goals against. Just looking at the statistics here. Also see, I thought Ian Cole and Sean Dersing were good at times too. Ian Cole took a couple of penalties, it felt like. But I thought all in all, the goals against came when they were between line changes. So one of the pairings that gave up a goal was Sergachev Marino. The other one, the heck, what is it? Why is it not showing the other one? That's silly. The other one, I don't know. But yeah, tremendously exciting game. Nowan makes a good point. Celebrini did get a taste of big games during the Olympics, best on best hockey. So that is certainly something we do need to give Macklin Celebrini credit for. I that is a good point. I'm just gonna let that sit. I think that's a good point, but I do think there's something to be said about the fact that Will Smith didn't get that experience, right? He didn't get that experience with his partner in crime, whereas Logan Cooley, Dylan Gunther, they're getting that experience together. They're getting battle hardened as a group. I think Kyler Yamamoto is complementing them very well. I did prefer in the season to see those two play with Michael Carcone. You can make the argument that he and Yamamoto are, maybe interchangeable at times. Carcone has a lot more piss and vinegar, though. I think that's perhaps why he fits in with that third line at this time with Kerfoot and Peterka to sort of balance that out, add a little bit of sandpaper there. But I think Snar Wars has a great point here. Andre Tourigny made some great adjustments. I think he was very calm after game one in his understanding that this is a long series. I like that he focused on the positives because they were certainly there. I felt them in a big way. I talked about a lot of the positives that I noticed in the most recent episode of SLC Puck. And I think focusing on what worked and making just those minor adjustments had a big impact on this game. And we saw there was clearly an emphasis on getting up, getting fast, getting out of the zone quickly, tightening things up in the penalty kill. I'm sure they relied a lot on John Madden's guidance from the bench, and perhaps any scouting that he had done. I would imagine there were some discussions and some changes that happened between the first and second period after Vegas scored on their first power play attempt. They didn't score again later in the game. So, I think this was a very well-coached game. a very composed group. Andre Turney was engaged in this one. We saw on the bench. It is funny. Sammy and I kind of looked like they were we both noted that they looked like they were in a little bit of a panic there in the first period. Little bit of disarray after surrendering the first goal, and then were caught chasing around quite a bit. I thought they were lucky to get out of the first period, or get out of that first little little portion of the game. Keeping it knotted at 1 goal apiece. I think had Vegas gone up 2-0 early on, I think this would have been a dramatically different result. I don't think Utah would have dug their way into this one, but they did a great job of weathering the storm, responding. You can see here in the game flow on Money Puck. Vegas did have continued to drive the puck towards the net right after their first goal. Again, this is the moment in time where Sammy and I said to each other while we're watching the game, we're like, oh, they're in trouble. But obviously they got the goal in the first period. It might have been a lucky bounce, whatever, who cares? It knotted the game up. They don't ask how, they ask how many, right? That was critical. If they don't get that lucky bounce and Vegas cashes in on any of these, drives towards the net, it's a different outcome. But again, I think Utah learned here, just pepper the goalie. There's no such thing as a bad shot in this series. We've scored 2 goals off of lucky bounces. We need to try to get one in every game. We get another using our speed, and then another just with hard work, discipline, getting a rebound in front of the net. That gives us 3 goals. We can hope and pray and support Karel Vejmelka in keeping the Golden Knights under that 3-goal total. But if Utah does those 3 things, they get the greasy goal, the lucky one, the fortunate bounce, they get the fast goal, and then they get a hardworking, disciplined goal in the offensive zone. That's their formula to win. They've got to find a way to get all 3 of those goals in each of the remaining games for the rest of the series. And then they'll adjust based on who they play in the next round. But I think they should continue to lean into their strength, that being their speed. And, I think there's something to be said about when you do the right things. You have good luck. And I say that because we're playing a team based in the city of sin. And we're the Saints here. It's Saints versus sinners. Utah versus Vegas. This has been a ton of fun. I've really enjoyed doing these post-game shows with you guys. Thank you guys for being so interactive here in the chat. I was just looking at the YouTube comments. We might have had other comments come in. We're now at 100 combined viewers, so that's super dope, super cool. Big thanks to you guys who are tuning in to this on X. Let me just see here if there's... I'm not as familiar with the chat feature on X, but we're looking here. I don't see any discussions, but hey, I'm going to get better at the stream. Live streams are definitely something that are on our docket for bigger and wider and stronger and thicker coverage of the Utah Mammoth next season. So this, again, just like how our boys are getting some valuable battle-hardened experience, doing the same thing here at SLC Puck. Does anybody else have any thoughts on the game? I am very excited for Game 3 in Salt Lake City on Friday. We'll be bouncing around the plaza before the game, so if you see us, come up and say hi. I think one more thing I forgot to mention. I thought Karel Vejmelka played a great game. Keeping the Vegas Golden Knights at bay. It's interesting. Look at that. There's an ad for Flanker here. We're gonna be at Flanker on Sunday for Game 4, so we're gonna get a lot of that spillover traffic. Anybody who wants to come in and hang out still around the arena, but then come on in and have a great time at Flanker, we're going to be there to accommodate that and have a ton of fun. So we're very much looking forward to that. It's been 40 minutes. It's been a long day. Lots gone on in my personal life. Hey, you guys don't give a crap. You shouldn't, and I don't want you to. So we're going to call it a show here. Again, we so appreciate you guys for tuning in. It's been a ton of fun. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Wherever you're following the show. We're up to 101 concurrent viewers right now. So I just want to say again, we appreciate you guys so much. Support means a lot. Make sure you get your hats, BigTuskEnergy.com. We'll make sure anybody who orders one before Friday's game and who lives here in the Salt Lake Valley will get it in time. So grab your hats now while we still have them, while they're hot. And we'll talk soon, guys. Thank you so much.